Happy birthday to the man, he means Hitler, who got 24 million Germans killed. Hitler also launched a world war that killed another 80 million people. Just because our rulers are evil does not mean Hitler was good. Adolf Hitler. So Alex Jones is a huge grifter and has said a lot of stuff that he doesn't believe, but this isn't a surprise to me. Alex Jones' particular model of far-right conspiracism has always been very libertarian-leaning. Ooh, that's a spicy meatball. 7.2 million views, 4,000 comments. And yes, you're correct. It's almost all Nazis getting mad at him. So let's take a look. Alex Jones will question anything except the official World War II narrative. Now, I want you to think about the tone of this post, okay? I said before that when Nazis post, they often, like, it's a consequence of, and I'm not joking here, you know how Nazis have very little personalities? They tend to be very weak-minded people who fell in with online, like, cliques that gave them a sense of identity. The mode of conversation expressed by Nazis is genuinely a product of Pepe. Or in this case, the Groyper. The smug, condescending, I know something that you don't know, I'm better than you look, that because they're weak and don't have like strong identities of their own, that genuinely is like the motivating framework for them. That is how they think they should interact with others, even if it's not very good at communicating their position, right? So Alex Jones will question anything except the official World War II narrative. This is obviously not meant to convince Alex Jones. It's just meant to, like, I don't know, react in a way that gets engagement from this person's followers. So, you know, it's not like an effort at communicating directly, but, you know, they go on and argue. If you want to see the real arguments, by the way, it's in the sub-comment section. Here we go. This is where the Nazis really fester. Name 10 books. Please list out 10 of these hundreds of books you've read in World War II. I've read a great deal on the topic, and I am still willing to deny the obvious. The obvious that they're referring to is the Nazi version of World War II, which is that the Jews began World War II by attacking Germany somehow, and that everything that happened after that was self-defense. That's their version. Who wrote these, quote, over 100 books? The implication here is that Jews wrote them. Who owned the publishing companies that printed those books? The implication is that Jews own those publishing companies. The good guys always write the history books, Jones. Bad guys never win wars. So here the implication. This is why, by the way, the history is written by the winners bit is bad. And it's not a good argument, you know, because the implication then is, oh, well, the only reason that the Nazi narrative is considered false is because they lost the war, right? They would have called themselves National Socialists if they really were. Only Jews call Nat-Soaks Nazis. Again, it's such a, like, comically stupid thing to say, but this guy probably believes it. Only Jews call National Socialists Nazis. That's true. Only Jews use that term. No other ethnic, cultural, racial, or religious group uses that term. Such a good goy, saying that he's like a pet in the Jewish machination. How much do they pay you, Jones? Asking, again, it's Jews. They have no mind of their own. No, they don't. That's what I want to demonstrate, okay? I want to demonstrate a tendency. First of all, they are incredibly condescending, but not because they have knowledge that you don't. The condescension isn't because, you know, they have all these things that they're aware of and you aren't. The condescension is an in-group, out-group distinction because they think that you're with the Jews and they're not. The sneering condescension here is a belief that they have that to a normal, regular person, they are either aware of the fact that they are controlled by Jews, or they would be embarrassed or humiliated to have it pointed out. The reason I feel it important to point this out is because I want you to understand how insular and kind of insane their worldview is. Nazis on Twitter, and Nazis broadly, genuinely think that it is an insult in the minds of the average person to be accused of being controlled by the Jews. It's like a mental illness, right? Like, can you imagine how nonsensical that would come across to anyone, like a normal person? Like, go up to a random person and say, like, you're bought in by the Armenian mob. Oh, okay. Like, it's the connection not found, but they believe it. So because they believe it, they think it's a huge insult when applied to you. Seriously, a lot, like most of these comments are in line with that. The in-group, out-group thing where they think that like the burning insult, like we can, you know, they think everyone else believes the insane shit they do, but are too embarrassed to say it. Yes, that is a very, very, very common belief for reactionaries. They think that racists think that everyone is racist. They're just the ones brave enough to admit it. So when a racist accuses you of being like cucked by the black man or whatever, for whatever they're freaking out over, you know, they think they're hitting you in a very specific insecurity. They think they're hitting, like, basically, they think that they're getting you on being like a turncoat or a pick-me, you know? That's the feeling. That's what they think they're hitting you on. Because they think you know, because everyone has to know, right? Because they think it's such a big, obvious truth. Does that make sense? Prolific noticer, thought crime enjoyer, because he's a Nazi, right? Anyway. And this person's contribution to the conversation is posting archive.org, Adolf Hitler, the greatest story never told, full 6 hours. And I love the fact that Twitter cuts it off here because it makes it like a fucking meme, you know? Like, question the Nazi narrative. Here you go. Plop. Full 6 hours. Incredible. Alex, quote, married into the family Jones. So this is them saying he married a Jewish woman. I don't know if he did or not. It doesn't really matter. Hey, Alex, who declared war on who? How many attempts at peace were rejected by Churchill? Why did Rudolf Hess fly on a solo mission of peace only to be locked away and tortured for 46 years? So again, why ask these questions? Well, because this is how Nazis talk. This is the way they learn to talk from one another. Because they know for a fact that if they said straightforwardly, hey, Alex Jones, World War II began when the international Jewish community attacked Germany, and then, like, Poland had to be invaded or something. That's what they actually believe, by the way. They actually believe that. They genuinely think that the World War II was initiated by Jews. But he knows that if he just said that, that would look really silly, right? By asking these questions, not only can you do the, like, just asking questions thing, but you can also prompt the other person to do more work than you. In reality, nobody wants to argue with somebody who talks like this. First of all, these questions are nonsensical. They're absurd. If you have a position, say it, coward. And secondly, like, how many follow-up questions would you have to go through in this format to talk to somebody who has, on the subject of World War II, asked, hey, Alex, who declared war on who? You're such a good goyim, from Meme Nationalist. Remember, they think that Alex Jones thinks the way they think, right? So to them, being called like a servant of the Jew, that's a great insult to a Nazi. So they think by projecting it outward, you know, what's goyim? It just means non-Jewish person. Do you think the same thing happens in other ideologies at all? I think this ideology of self-destructive hatred can manifest in other ways. There are versions of this, right? But there is no there's no equivalent to this. No. There's no, I don't think there's any other ideology that you would see like a meaningful number of people involved in that is this much of a death cult. I do think that the closest thing that you could see is it would probably be like the incel communities online, right? I think that there's a huge overlap between those two. And there's a reason, right? Like a lot of people in the incel community get pulled into Nazis. Yeah, okay, you say ISIS. I don't look at ISIS Twitter, right? I've seen so many posts from Nazis. I see how they talk and they're like weird pathologies. I've never seen ISIS people say stuff. Like in the abstract, yes, it's a death cult, sure. But in the immediate sense of how they talk, yeah, it just doesn't I don't really know as much about them.